Yeah.
But yesterday I got up and I went, it looks like a nice day.
Yeah.
I think I might not go to work. And so I just didn't. I just hung by the pool the whole day with the intention of just allowing whatever happened to happen. Maybe I'll get some ideas for some content or, you know, and I had the, you know, best intentions to do that, but I didn't. I didn't go on my computer at all the whole entire day. So,
do you read? Do you read like hard copy books, or do you have like a Kindle or anything?
I am an Audible.
Oh yes.
I don't watch TV. I've read I think 8 books.
Yeah.
Listened to 8 books this year. I've been listening to one that will come in really, really handy because it's talking about non-verbal communication. So it's a brilliant book.
Yeah.
Audible's changed the way I look at reading because I couldn't read before, but now I can get through several books.
It's magic.
In a month or so.
The beautiful thing is with Audible, it also, you know how you just zone out?
Yeah.
And you kind of on automatic pilot and you think, what did they just say? So you can just go back 30 seconds and go back 30 seconds and get in. But this is about a guy who is an FBI counterintelligence guy. And so he's talking about pretty much body language, reading people's body language, which is obviously super fascinating to me. But it's all about the feet.
Huh.
Okay.
The feet. And this is why for years I have been saying to people, oh my God, the most frustrating, stupidest thing people do in dating is going for coffee.
Yeah.
Going to a coffee shop. What is it? It's the dumbest idea. A, your legs are under the table.
Yeah.
So you can only connect with half a person. You're not even connecting with a full person. And men are visual. Yeah. They have to see all of you.
Yeah.
You know, the whole lot of you to be able to know if they're attracted to you. The feet will tell you so much more than any other part of your body. But everybody's trying to read facial cues.
Yeah, yeah.
And they can come in handy, but not as handy as what the feet will tell you. There's also, I say to women, in the male brain and the female brain, and you know, they kind of overlap. So if you look at the map and where the female is and the male is, the male genitals sit over the top of the female feet. So men just are naturally, they can't help looking at your feet. And it's not they've got a foot fetish, but they will notice your shoes or and I say to women, look at what's on your feet. Make sure you've got open toe shoes on. Make sure your toes are polished.
Yeah.
But if you go to a coffee shop or anywhere where you're putting half your body hidden, well, that's a massive problem. And when you think about coffee, it takes 20 minutes. And you're trying to get some sort of connection with somebody in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Unless there's a strong physical connection, which will often happen for a man because men are visual and they're more likely to fall in love at first sight.
Yeah,
but for a woman to get an emotional connection with a man, he's got to be able to ask her the right questions. You just can't achieve this in a short period of time.
Especially when you're hopped up on caffeine.
Yeah,
I was going to say.
In the morning, just like, I've always thought that's a strange thing to do.
Stimmed out.
Yeah.
And plus, let's really be honest. If you're going to go for coffee, it's generally an AM kind of drink. Not that you can't drink coffee, espresso martini, for example, through the PM, but you're not going to knock back 2 to 3 cups of coffee and stay there on the date. So once that coffee's done, it's sort of almost like, okay, then I guess we should go then.
Yeah.
And your date's finished before it's even...
Maybe we'll order a bagel or something.
Yeah. I mean, after 2 to 3 cups of coffee, I have to virtually remove myself from the public space because I'm just too stimmed out. I need to go into a dark room and start putting things on the walls and figuring out conspiracies or something. You know, that's way too much caffeine for me.
And it depends also. You go to a coffee shop and you have a look at what's going on. People coming in, going out. It's impossible not to, when there's activity around you, not to be aware of the activity. So you're not actually focused on what's going on in front of you. And it's just...
It's a disaster.
It's millennials. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
I don't do this. Just because you don't want to pay for, you know what I mean, like $4 for a date. Like, it's not how dating is.
So what's the best spot for one then?
Okay. There's a woman called Helen Fisher, all right, and she's an anthropologist. She's a fantastic, amazing woman, and she has studied the brain in love, all right. She's also the ambassador for Match.com, and she put a study out where she sent 4 groups of people out on dates, and these were a lot of people. This wasn't like, oh, let's send 10 people here, 10 people there, but she wanted to know what sort of date is going to yield a second date, is most likely to yield a second date. And I came across this survey a few years ago when I was a massive advocate for please don't do coffee dates. Anyway, she sent 1 group of people on coffee dates, 1 group of people to have beer and wine, you know, like in a casual pub, sushi date, and then cocktails. And so what do you think? And her idea was to see what date would yield the highest amount of second dates. Because if you're not getting on the second date, it's the whole purpose of the first date, right?
Yeah.
To get on the second date, to get on the third date, to get on the fourth. And so what date do you think yielded the highest amount of second dates after the first date?
Yes, and I'll guess.
I want to say beer and cocktails.
No, beer and wine
the
or cocktails.
cocktails rather. Yeah.
My instinct would say that, but maybe sushi as a wild card.
Oh, you are the winner wild card.
Damn.
Yeah, because you leave a bit on the table for the second time.
Okay, so when we think about a sushi date, and you know this is an American study.
Yep.
And so sushi is massive, and they're mostly sushi chains. So you are sitting side by side, and because you're sitting side by side, you can see all of the person. You have an opportunity to touch, and the power of touch on a date is critical.
Yeah.
You have to be able to touch, not in an inappropriate groping kind of way, unless you're invited to do so. But if you can't actually have a friendly touch, then this is a problem. Again, the coffee date. Also, when you're side by side and you're choosing food together, so it doesn't necessarily have to be sushi, but the sharing of food and making decisions together, and you can learn so much about people with what they're ordering and their, oh no, I wouldn't eat that, and how they've got to have everything their own way and stuff
so
like that.
So that speaks to their sort of how controlling or assertive they are as well as a person.
Exactly. And also it just gives you something to talk about.
Yeah.
What do you fancy? What do you know, and to find common links, because I think people are so searching for commonality. So that was the first one that yielded the highest amounts of second dates. And then it was cocktails.
Yeah. Okay.
And the reason I think cocktails is such a great idea, and I'll say to my clients, go for an afternoon cocktail, like a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon, no prime time first dates, Friday night, Saturday night, stupid, or after work. And a cocktail is just a little bit more exotic sounding than, oh, let's go and get a beer down the pub.
A few pints.
Yeah. And you know, and you think about a lot of guys, they just don't want to go to a wine bar. So a cocktail you can kind of have somewhere that has a more holiday sort of atmosphere, somewhere that's got a view. You know, you think cocktails, you think somewhere that's, you know, on the beach, and men definitely do way better outdoors.
Yeah.
So in summer, I say to people, just find an outdoor venue with round tables, or a place that you can go side by side. Set yourself up that you can be there from between 2 hours to 8 hours. You don't want to cut the date short. So somewhere that you can perhaps go for a walk afterwards. If you went to Hillary's, for example, you can have a drink. You can go for a little bit of a walk, stroll on the beach. There's views. Always something to talk about when there's a view.
Definitely.
True. Yeah. I imagine with the food option, you'd have to choose something that's not a messy food option. Because I eat like an animal. If I'm having a burger, then like a sloppy burger, then that's a bad idea.
Look, it is a bad idea. It's a really bad idea. Kebabs are arguably my favourite food ever.
Yeah.
I would marry one if they were like me. I'd be like, oh, just marry a kebab. I would never eat a kebab in front of a man. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just an Uber Eats kind of thing. But when you are setting up a date, and I've got to say that so many times I speak to women and they'll say, oh, I was really annoyed because when he spoke to me, it's like they're setting up the date over the phone. He couldn't figure out where to go. And I'll say, well, what do you mean? And she'll say, well, he said to me, well, where do you want to go? And I said to him, well, I don't mind. Where do you want to go? And he couldn't even make up his mind. And I don't like weak men. Yeah. And I think that the perception of the judgment of the man being weak because he can't think of a venue is so misunderstood. A man wants to get it right. Let's take a vegetarian to the Lone Star Steakhouse. See how well your date goes then. A man likes to check in. Where would you like to go? He doesn't want to get this wrong. He wants to please the woman, but the woman's so busy projecting, or he's weak, he can't. And we have such a big disconnect between he said and she said, and he thinks and she thinks. But neither is really taking the opportunity to look at the other side of the coin. Interesting.
Yeah. Not enough collaboration.
I think you wrote something recently about that, like about how we're becoming divided between genders in that respect.
It's really scary, actually, because it's almost like this sisterhood is sticking over here, and like we're going to. Men are just this and men are just that. And you can't meet any decent guys, and I wonder to myself, if you're putting yourself on Tinder and trying to meet a guy for a relationship, is this the man's fault that this isn't going right when the whole purpose of the app was designed for people who just didn't know? I'm not saying I don't want a relationship, but I'm certainly not saying I do, but hookup would be good. And getting out and having fun would be good. So, and it starts this role. And then you've got the guys that are on there that might be genuine about wanting to have a relationship. So they take the girls out and they end up paying for dates. And they think, oh my God, how many free dinners do I have to buy before I even get a snog? Let alone, home base. So you've got these two completely different attitudes, and interestingly, people go out on dates, and I think the human mind, in a lot of ways, is so geared to finding the negative about something, not going to the positive about something. Yeah, and they sit on the date and go, I don't really like his shirt. I don't think he really has that good of manners, and they're finding all these things that they might not like about the person, rather than looking at the things that they do like. And sometimes when I'm receiving feedback, I say, well, that's really interesting. So this person had no redeemable qualities whatsoever. Nothing about him or her was any good. Oh, no, I'm not saying that. It's like, well, fuck, that's what you've just been saying for the last 15 minutes. Yeah. I haven't heard anything positive, so I'm just checking in what was kind of positive. And it's funny that people are going to, this is what I didn't like about them. And guess what happens when you do that? You keep attracting exactly what you don't like in the person in the next person. And then in the next person, because you create your own reality with your thoughts.
Self-defeating, yeah, right.
Yeah. Thoughts turn to things.
What a disaster. It's a scary world out there, especially on Tinder. It can be a minefield. I don't operate in that realm anymore because I'm in a relationship, but yeah, my memories of Tinder were
Give us a memory.
brutal.
Give us a memory.
It was like there was two extremes in my interactions with the girls that I was like swiping and matching with. It was like either they were like, they'd sort of take you along for a ride and kind of keep the conversation going, but I guess look for a way to shut it. This is making me look like an absolute not a catch at all. They'd sort of try and close it off as quickly as they could, but or there was just the ones that were just hyper aggressive, like really aggressive. And I was like, and in both instances, I mean, probably in the latter instance, that wouldn't happen in real life when you're interacting with someone. Yeah, it's so disconnected from reality. Yeah,
it's a very interesting thing because I was talking to somebody the other day, and a lot of people that are doing the second time round, that are in their late 40s or 50s, they've been married for 15, 20 years, and they're going back into the dating scene when there was no social media and there wasn't the online world, and then they find themselves thrust into this new way that everybody's meeting people. And, a lot of men will make the comment that women are so aggressive. And when I say that, I don't mean angry, but aggressively how they pursue
Yeah, yeah.
a man. Like, you know, so when are we going out? What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? Like,
Yeah.
and really just wanting to control everything rather than just sitting back and letting a man come to you. So it's quite scary for a lot of guys to think, well, hang on a minute, but if I take you out on a second date and then I decide that you're not right for me, then you're going to shoot me, you know, like shoot the messenger, and it's really awkward. And this is why ghosting has become an almost acceptable practice. Really scary. My son's 16, and he's got all his little friends that think it's really cool that Parker's got this, you know, mum who's a dating expert, and they try to, you know, 16-year-olds maybe embarrass me by asking me kind of controversial questions and what have you. But he had a group of his friends over a couple of weeks ago, and one of them says, "Hey, Louanne, can I get some dating advice from you?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I sat down. I said, "What seems to be the problem?" He said, "Well, there's this girl, and I kind of liked her. And she comes up to me, you know, we've started school again, and she's come up to me and she's like, all kind of like emotional. Like I thought she was about to burst out and cry. And she said to me, 'Why are you avoiding me?' And he said, 'I didn't know what to say. What would you have said to her in that situation?' And I said, 'Well, first of all, if she's being emotional, you need to let her know that I can see that you're emotional, but whatever it is that's going on for you, that's got kind of nothing to do with me, and I'm not ignoring you because we sit at the other end of the school. We're not in the same classes and we don't sit in the same place for lunch, so why would I ignore you? You're beautiful. I wouldn't ignore you.' And he went, that's interesting. The next day I said to my son, 'So what did your friend think about the advice I gave?' And he said, actually, he came up to me and said, 'I really like what your mum said, because it would have been so much easier than having to block her off everything, having to delete her from all my accounts.' And I think that this is such a topical thing that at 15, 16, people are knowing that they don't know how to deal with an emotional confrontation. So we'll just avoid that and we'll just block you and delete you and reject you. And so the whole thing of being rejected and of course he's feeling guilt and shame because she didn't really deserve to be blocked. He just didn't know what else to do. He didn't know what the alternative was other than the poor behaviour.
So he's just put up all these virtual barriers now. Like he didn't know how to conduct himself in real life in that situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're not taught that. And what's happening is without the interaction, without the human interaction and without the ability to be able to deal with an emotional confrontation. And when we say an emotional confrontation, any subject around, you know, you might not be happy with something at your work, and having to approach someone and say, 'You know what, yesterday when you kind of said that I was slack and I heard you talking to Kevin saying that and made me uncomfortable.' Well, people don't do that. They don't have the guts to actually just deal and move on. They hold on.
Yeah. The more you avoid an issue with a person or a problem just in general, the bigger it gets in your head.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And the more, it's funny that if you notice and you're aware of it, the more that exact same issue keeps happening with other people. And you think, oh my God, does everybody around me at the moment have to be this particular way? Because it's so something that you're so manifesting in there.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's totally.
I want to know what happens with that kid. I want to know if he starts dating that girl.
So he didn't unblock her or anything, but okay. I will see him this weekend, and I wouldn't be surprised if he actually has found a way. But the fact that he actually went back, so on the spot, all the 5 boys were just like, okay, cool. But when he sat back and thought about it, he's going, wow, that would have been so much easier.
Yeah.
Just so much easier. Just be nice. Give her a compliment. Let her know that she's making something out of nothing, and he wouldn't do that, certainly not on purpose. and chill.
Yeah, I know, right?
Chill.
We have so much more control in those scenarios than we think if we can just sort of step back and actually sort of, I guess, engage with it as well, instead of just kind of being half engaged with what's actually going on.
It's emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And we're so caught up in, we must get good grades. We must, learn all these fantastic skills in life. But without the emotional intelligence, the ability to be able to read somebody, the ability to empathise, the ability to make somebody feel comfortable when they're clearly uncomfortable, it's a skill. And it is a skill that can be learnt. You know, some skills can't be learnt. I'm never going to be able to learn the skill of technology. Face this reality. Every day, if I touch it, I only have to touch one button and I can kill a whole machine.
Yeah.
I don't have the blessing in that area, or I don't run very fast.
Yeah.
So some things you can't learn, and some things you can learn, and emotional intelligence you actually can. There needs to be a lot more awareness from ground zero. Yeah. And when I say that, from kids upwards.
Speaking of technology, though, it's very interesting how you conduct yourself online through social media, because you seem to have a remarkable amount of engagement with the content that you produce on social media, which is really interesting. It seems as though you've got a really good handle on that, which I don't see a lot of people running businesses and whatnot doing so much. It's maybe happening a little bit more, but if I was to look on your social media platforms, I would instantaneously, I get a sense that you're very organized you've got this under control, and you've got a very engaged audience, and it's actually quite cool to see that you interact as well with people that are engaging with your content, which is a rarity these days.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, you're actually getting into sort of these comments. People drop comments on some of the content that you post, some of the articles and things like that, and it's usually sort of like a personal recount of something that's relating to that article, and then you'll give them sort of a paragraph response, which is a really sort of well thought out, considered response. So it's quite cool. Yeah.
Well, I think that if you're going to, you have to look at the purpose of why are you doing something. What's the end goal of doing something? Now, I'm pretty much a social media infant. Yeah. So I've only been involved in Facebook since mid-2016.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So that's Instagram, I'd say, I don't know what that is. Snapchat, I don't even know. I've got no Snapchat. So I'm really very virginal going into that space. And I use social media to get the message out. What's my purpose of being there? Because if you listen to any of my stuff, I don't really have call to actions at the end of them saying, hey, follow me here, do this, do that, give me your money. It's not about that. It's actually about to pay it forward. Yeah. It's actually about let's help people, let's educate, let's show people that you are not alone. Whatever your thought process is here, there's another side to it. And it's neither right or wrong. It's just based on your value system. So if I'm going to post something online, I've got to be prepared to be there to actually help people that want to say something. Yeah, sort of follow through with your intention there. And sometimes you don't get to follow through, but you don't know how many people you actually help that never interact, that I'll get messages. I think my phone told me I have broken sort of new world records of my screen time. Oh, yeah. Oh. My screen time last week was 13.8 hours a day.
Damn.
Whoa.
Damn. Okay, audiobooks.
Right.
And YouTube.
So it goes in the background.
Yeah. So I listen to a lot of stuff, TED Talks. Educate yourself, feed your mind. And then I've got more content to share with people. And it is in the sharing of things. And if people are out there actually wanting to spread the love, and the more that you give out, guess what happens? The more you get back. It's very, very simple. If we plant a tomato seed in the ground and we don't feed it, we're not going to get tomatoes. Yeah. You need to water it, and you need to nurture it and let it grow.
Yeah. It's the way you use it then, I guess. Mindfulness.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I'm glad that you mentioned Audible and TED Talks, because we're sort of massive proponents of like trying to persuade people that life is really a lifelong learning journey. Because a lot of people I know just seem to, you know, they graduate high school, they might go to uni, or if not, but at some point they get this idea that they've finished learning and that's it. And you can see it, the change in them when they come to that realization or they set that in their mind.
And it's so true. It's people are trying to have a relationship, but the relationship they have with themselves isn't that very good. And so they're trying to have a relationship with an outside person, but the inside person that they're never going to break up from, they don't work on, they don't nurture. And they constantly allow themselves to feel bad about stuff. You know, and when I say that, I mean, okay, here's the condition that you might be in. My boyfriend broke up with me. He cheated on me. And there's a condition that's put you in this state of mind, that's put you in this mood, that's put you in this mindset. And now you have a choice. Do I want to feel bad about this? It's very hard to automatically just feel good about it. You're not going to start, you know, doing cartwheels. But when you recognise that you're feeling crappy about something, that something doesn't feel good, you need to stop and say, this doesn't feel good. How am I going to fix this? I might go to sleep. Because when I'm asleep, I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah.
Or I might go and meditate because I'm not thinking about it. Or I might go for a swim on the beach. Or I might go and pat my dog. Or I might do something that raises my awareness to not wanting to focus on something that doesn't feel good. And we wouldn't eat something that we didn't like. Tell me something you hate. What do you hate?
Oh my God. Probably fish. Any seafood.
Okay,
hate it.
Okay, so you're going to go into a restaurant and put something on your plate you don't like. Say, oh, I'm going to have like the seafood platter. And you can imagine your girlfriend would be like, why are you eating a seafood platter? You don't even like seafood. Oh, well, I just think that I might just do this because it makes me feel really shitty and I really don't like it and I get no enjoyment from it. So, but I might do it anyway. It's exactly the same as when you feel bad. Why are you allowing yourself to be stuck in this state of feeling this particular way? And how do you get unstuck from feeling that way? Well, you learn how to unfeel that way. And so the things that we learn about ourselves or the self-awareness, that we're a work in progress. Every experience we have is there to teach us a lesson of, okay, well, did that feel good or did that not? If that didn't feel good, what am I going to do to make sure that I don't repeat that and elevate to the next level of that? Because you control your mind.
Yeah.
You control your thoughts.
Yeah. It sort of reminds me of some patterns I see in some people that I know when they break up with someone. Instead of focusing then on themselves, they'll immediately get back onto Tinder or something and look for the other person again and look for the reward from that person instead of looking within themselves and being okay with being with themselves for just a bit at least.
Yeah.
And I've tried to tell someone specifically that before and I don't think it computed. I think they eventually came around, but like that period.
If you're trying to get something from the outside world and you're needing validation from outside, which I think that a lot of people do, and this is the whole social media. The whole of social media is about validation.
Yeah.
Look at me, I'm doing well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And people that are... Did you see the article last week I did on dating addiction?
Yes. Yeah.
So people have become literally addicted to having the validation, to having the thrill of the chase, to having somebody interested in them. Because God forbid, you know, I have to get the love from myself.
Yeah.
You know, and you actually can. You actually can. And unless somebody... And there'll be a whole pile of people that will listen to this and go, she's so right, you so can. And it's only when you really get to that place that you should really be inviting somebody into your world anyway. Yeah. It's not like you never get down on yourself. It's not like we're human. We're going to have days where we think, it didn't really feel good. But don't eat seafood.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, think of something that makes you feel good. How can I change this? If I'm focusing on what's happened that I don't like, is this going to change it? No. So what is it I want? If you know what you don't want, you kind of swivel that around to know what I do want. So I'm going to focus on what I do want. And what I do want is I want to be in a relationship with someone who I feel good with, who is fun, who will laugh together. And I want to, because it's all about how you feel. So if you're thinking about feeling with this, how a relationship feels, rather than how it feels when I don't have it, which is the condition.
Yeah.
Simple.
This is massive. This is a massive one, I think, just from within my own peer group and external to that as well. And just my age group, like, you know, people learning to love themselves and to kind of, I guess in a way, like, it's like they're this like slice of Swiss cheese and you sort of got to fill the holes in before you know, because everyone's sort of a work in progress. And I think around my age group anyway, at like 18 to 21, 22 is turbulent. And I think a lot of people are these slices of Swiss cheese with a ton of holes. And I've noticed once you get to sort of 21, 22, and then into 23, 24, which is 24 is how old I am now, people really seem to settle down into themselves and become comfortable in their own skin. And you start to see like I don't know, my advice to a lot of people, and this might be like a little bit ill-advised, but 18 to 21 or 22, you should really, your focus shouldn't be on trying to lock yourself down into a relationship, because you're so much shit that you've got to deal with. Everyone has to deal with. You're not ready to engage with someone when they're dealing with their shit, and it's just like, wow.
Do you know, it's very interesting. We have 3 very different phases in our life where when we're young, and I study with Dr. John Demartini, who's an amazing, amazing human behaviourist, and so I'm a Demartini facilitator. And one of he teaches some fantastic information of balancing the mind and being able to take any event that happened to you and have nothing but love and gratitude to it. But I'll come back to that. But there's 3 different main areas that you have in your life. And the first is parental idealisms. So when we're growing up, our parents tell us, this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do, this is how you should behave. And around about 13-ish, we start saying, yeah, not so much. No, I don't want to wear that. I'm going to wear this, and this is the music I want to listen to, and these are the shows I want to watch, and this is what I want to do. And so from about 13 to 30, we now move into our social idealisms. So what our social groups are and our social pressures, and if all of our friends are travelling, we're more likely to go and travel. If all of our friends are studying, we're more likely to study. So we'll keep in these social packs, and it's all the idealisms that we're now being projected on us by our social. And then you get to about 32-ish onwards for the rest of your life is societal idealisms. So society tells us get a good education, get a good job, get married, have 2.5 children, do your travelling before you get married, get a house, pay your mortgage off, pay your mortgage off and save for your super, and then you can be happy. And it's all this condition about I can be happy when I'm finished studying. I can be happy when I move out of my house and my mum's not driving me nuts. I can be happy when this happens. But they're not taught to be in this moment of going, this is joyful. So you get to 30-ish, 35-ish, and you're going, I don't even know who I am or what I'm trying to do because I've got all these idealisms that my parents still think this is wrong, my friends think this is cool, my boss and my bank account definitely doesn't think this is cool. And the validation of instant gratification.
Yeah.
And needing that instant fix. So you've got 2 ends of the coin. You've got the people that want that total instant, give it to me now, or I can't have anything now because all my happiness is going to come later. And no wonder people just walk around going, what the hell?
Yeah.
And in your 20s, I 100% agree with you. Your 20s are for sex. And I'm not saying your 30s aren't for sex and your 40s aren't for sex and your 50s aren't for sex. Sex is for it.
70s, 80s, 90s.
Sex is just good. It just gets better as you get older. Just let you know that. But it's about discovering yourself, your sexuality, what you gravitate towards, what doesn't feel good for you, what feels good for you. And I think people play grown-ups way too quickly. And they want to move in and do this and do that. I remember working with a particular girl, and she got this boyfriend. They've been dating for like 4 or 5 months, and they decided to move in. And at the last minute, he went, I don't want to move in. I don't think we should move in. I'll move somewhere closer so we're closer together, but I just don't think we should live together right now. And she's all cut up, and she's like, I think his feelings are changing, and there must be a reason why he doesn't want to move in with me. And she's all messed up. I'm saying, okay, so has he ever lived with a girl before? And she said, well, yeah. And I said, well, how did that go for him? And she said, well, I don't know. I said, well, clearly you fucking know, because he's not with her anymore. So how do you think it went for him? It didn't. And so what's probably going on in his mind is, okay, the last time I lived with somebody, it didn't work out. And right now I enjoy what I have with this girl. I like her. I like being with her. And if I change that condition, maybe it won't work. And she was like, oh, I never looked at it like that. But it's as simple as just having a bit of information to see the other side, that just because he doesn't want to live with you doesn't mean it's anything to do with you whatsoever. And if it has got something to do with you, it could be in the most beautiful way, that he doesn't want to mess it up. That the last time he lived with somebody, she just nagged him because he left his stuff around, and his
he left the toilet
toothbrush
seat
wasn't
up.
straight, and his, man hair in the bed and stuff.
Yeah, thinking about how it literally would be instead of just the concept of living with someone.
Exactly.
Because that's kind of what people just want. They want the idea of
thinking, I have elevated my relationship to the next level because I'm fitting into what society tells us, that we meet somebody and we live with them. We try before we buy, and we can easily get rid of them if we want. And people do that in their 20s. Which I can't say avoid living with somebody, because I think it's a really important part of growth as well. But getting married before 25? No.
Yeah.
There should be laws.
I know someone who got married after meeting someone on Tinder. After a few months, they got married and moved in. She was like 22 or 20.
Is she 45? That's okay.
She's 22 and the guy was like 30. I'm like, wow, really now? You panicked already. You have to settle this down now. Packed it in.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's too... You don't know yourself. At 22, 23, you think, oh, yeah, I got this.
Yeah.
I mean, I owned a business when I was that age, and you do. You think... And some people are emotionally more mature than other people, but you do think you know yourself.
Yeah.
But you don't want that same condition necessarily, and how do you know you don't want that same condition? You just have to let things roll. But make no mistake about it, the 30s are the most important decade. And I will tell people, particularly people who I might be doing business with, and I'll ask them the question, do you want to have children? Yes or no? They go, oh, well. And I say, not oh, well, yes or no. Fuck's sake, because this is not a game. And if you want to have kids, and you know that in your 30s, don't be like all so comfortable thinking, oh, yeah, that can happen later. I've still got plenty of time. And I tell you, a whole pile of people that I work for that are in their late 40s thinking it would happen, thinking that they had time, and particularly men, they think, oh, well, I've got semen. So I've got the sperm.
Yeah.
I've got the upper hand. Really? I don't think so, because you need an incubator, baby. You got nothing. I can get sperm from anywhere. And this is a massive problem as well, because girls are going, well, I can have babies without men. I don't need a man. Do you know what this is doing to society? That's where your divides start.
Big divide, yeah.
That's where your divides start happening, and a lot of competition in relationships and in workplace relationships and in parental relationships. It's just in all relationships, not just romantic relationships, of, well, I've got a good job, so I'm only dating someone that's got a good job.
Yeah.
And I'm good looking. Like, everyone tells me I'm really good looking, and so if I'm good looking, I must have someone that's good looking. And I'm intelligent, says me. So I want someone that's intelligent. And all my friends say that I have got the best personality. So I really need someone that's charismatic. And they want to date themselves. Yet all the parts of themselves that they don't like, they don't want to date. So,
yeah.
Well, Yeah, and I love the interracial kind of dating. I might speak to someone who is a Asian girl who might not want to meet an Asian boy, and I'm like, why not? Well, I said, you don't want to date yourself. You wouldn't date you because of your ethnic. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
All these restrictions. It's like, that's not love.
Shopping list.
That's a shopping list of conditions. You know, I don't have paper anymore. And this will not surprise you if I only just upgraded to social media in 2016. I had filing cabinets with files, and last year I got a CRM. But
A CRM?
a CRM, so an online portal, so I can store all my database in my CRM rather than looking through files.
Yeah.
But I used to, when people would come in with their form, I would read it half the time and just screw it up and put it in the bin. And they look at me with, but that's what I want. I'm like, good luck with that. Because I don't make them to order. I'm not ringing up and saying I'm going to need, 5 guys this week that look like the Bondi vet. It's not going to happen. So
He's probably boring anyway, that guy.
And it's a crazy thing. And the biggest thing we've got to understand about relationships is they're a complete reflection of ourselves. Whatever someone does that pleases you, you think, I like this person. Because it's something about yourself that you like, that you recognise in yourself. You're happy to own that trait. You're happy to have that trait in your life. So when you meet someone that's funny, you think, I like that person because they're funny. And I like someone with humour. This is a part of yourself that you like and you accept easily and you love that bit of yourself. But if you meet someone that's a really loud eater and you think, oh, God, that trait of eating loud, that's just really annoying. It's a part of yourself that you haven't learned to love, that you haven't learned to accept the fact that sometimes you eat loud, maybe not in front of other people, but you do it.
Yeah.
So anything that triggers you in another person is exactly what you need to work on. So if someone's half an hour late and you're all bent out of shape about that, you haven't owned the trait that you've ever been late, or you've never been late for anything.
You hate that about yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. They haven't learned to love it about themselves. And whatever you try to avoid, you attract. You can't run from something. So if it disappears in one person, a trait doesn't disappear. And we all know that you have some people that are just challenges.
Yeah.
And when that challenging person goes, another situation will come in where it will be challenging. You can't get rid of, both sides of the equation. So a relationship is actually just there to make you grow, to bring you into awareness of what you need to work on, what it is that's going on for you, what is it that this person's doing or not doing that's pushing my buttons. And it comes down to your values.
Yeah.
And Dr. Demartini has a value determination process, and one of the very first things I like to do with people is to do their values determination, because there's a massive confusion about understanding values. People say, yes, I'm honest. Bullshit. I don't lie. Of course you're lying right now, because you've probably told 40 lies already today. But your values are very different. They're not things like honesty, integrity, and kindness and loyalty.
Yeah, just words.
They're your traits.
Yeah.
And every trait is bipolar. So whatever trait you have, you also have the anti-trait. You can't be loyal and not disloyal. You can't be mean all the time without being kind sometimes. You can't be critical all the times without being complimentary some of the times. Every trait has its opposite side, and you have both sides.
Yeah.
You can't avoid it. And if you don't want to own it in yourself, it's going to be more and more and more in your present life. So people's values, and we judge somebody and categorise them based on whether they support or challenge our values. So if I had a staff member that came to work every day an hour early, and she stayed back an hour late every night, and she was the first one to come in if someone was sick, and she's doing lots of stuff and coming with new innovative ideas, I'm going to be like, wow, she's hardworking, she's loyal, she's such a dedicated girl. these are her behaviour things that she's doing, but her partner might look at her and say, you like your job more than you like me. You've got no time for our relationship. You're never here. The same person doing the same thing. She's supporting my values, so I label her good. She's challenging his values, so he's labelling her bad.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same perception, the same person, but a different perception. So people understanding their values is super important. Mine are helping people solve problems in relationship, my highest value. My whole life demonstrates this.
Yeah.
My whole life demonstrates this. What I think about, what I study, what I read, what I talk about, what I spend my money on, all my hours go to that. My second highest value is writing. And my third highest value is building my social influence. My kids are like, that's ridiculous, Mum. We are Dad's highest value. I'm like, don't think so. Yes, we are. He puts us first. I was like, no. Doesn't mean to say that you're not the thing I love the most in the world, other than kebabs and maybe the dog. I like him too. So don't confuse the thing that I might love you the most, but my life doesn't demonstrate you're my highest value. I am not breastfeeding you. You are 16. Okay, I'm not sitting on the floor doing jigsaw with you. I'm not spending all my money, my time, my energy, my effort on you. My life doesn't demonstrate you're the highest value. What my life demonstrates is that you're like fourth on my hierarchy of values. And you could go down and something else could come up. So once you have an understanding that everybody has a unique set of values, and this is so useful if you know what people's values are. Like in my house, I have 2 teenagers. And so some people might just like cringe and go, oh God, it just must be, they must fight all the time because you've got girl and boy. And it's like, wow, we just have a really cool relationship, because you learn not to project your values onto other people.
Yeah.
My son will say to me, even a couple of weeks ago, I said, oh, do you have to wear that? We're going into town. And he wants to wear shorts to dinner. And they weren't very attractive shorts either. I'm like, please, can you put just some long pants on? He just looked at me and said, I don't tell you what to wear, Mum. So I'd really appreciate it if you allowed me to have my own personal style and allow me that same respect I pay you. I'm like, fine. Fine. We have this whole room clean thing as well.
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of a messy person. I don't need everything in order. I'm like, that's cool. But I draw the line at, the accumulation of dishes that I might need to use. So bring the dishes down, but I don't harass him about those things, because when you understand that if I am constantly trying to project my values of being tidy onto him, guess what I'm going to get? Conflict.
Yeah.
And we're only organised in areas that we value. I'm very organised. You should see on my wardrobe. Black clothes here, blue clothes here, red ones here. It's like colour-coded. You want to see my bills.
Oh
my
no.
God, you should, that thing's a nightmare. I don't even open them half the time. I mean, my power disconnected, and just because it's not high on my values to like be organised in my accounts. Because finance isn't a massive value of mine. So, and once you learn that in a household, you can all live together in such a different way. By understanding, how does your highest value of playing that Xbox benefit me? Because I used to have a massive charge about him playing his Xbox for 15 hours a day. Or 12 hours a day, or however many. And yeah, so that would be my response. Just come out and play.
Yeah.
I don't want to play. I am playing. This is how we play.
It's the most interesting thing to do.
Yeah, the thing that I want to do. Well, can you take the rubbish down? Yeah, I'll do it in a minute after I finish this game. Okay, sounds feasible. I can do that. Come back 2 hours later. There's no rubbish down.
Yeah.
Okay. You said you're going to put it down. I will. Just 5 more minutes. To eventually, you need to take the rubbish down, taking the cords to the Xbox. If you take my cords, I'm not going to do it at all. You can imagine the next scenario. Those cords have been taken. And the conversation will go, can I have my cords back? I've done the rubbish. No. You can't have your cords. It was disrespectful what you did. And there are consequences to your actions. And what a ridiculous way to live.
Yeah.
So when I understand that that's his value. How does it serve me? Oh, it serves me. I don't have to drive him places. I know where he is. He's not doing drugs. He's not shoplifting. He's not hanging around with kids I don't know. He's there in the house. So if I need to go out, I can leave his little sister with him. There's a whole pile of benefits to me.
Yeah.
So I don't have this massive charge against him. And then let's not forget, if you can focus doing one thing for a massive amount of time without breaking that attention, this is a human trait that would be very handy for you later on in life, because if you can focus your attention on one thing that you really value, can you imagine how cool that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just having a different mindset around it. So I don't need to, my kids do so much. I just communicate differently to them. Like, what are you doing today? Oh, Collingwood's playing. I'm going to, have a clan war. I've got, Fortnite thing. Oh, cool. Well, I don't want to interrupt you when you're in the middle of something important, so here's what I need to get done today. But you decide when you want to do them.
Yeah.
So by not putting the restriction on you must do this, so can you imagine in a relationship where two people understand? Don't try to make me do things that are outside of my values. That's stupid. Allow that person to have their values, you have yours.
Yeah, that reminds me, the whole polarity of values. Oh, could you just bring the mic up?
Yeah,
the whole polarity of values reminds me of that whole Jungian sort of thing of integrating your shadow self, so it doesn't sort of overtake you later on down the line.
Yeah, it's a great way.
Yeah.
Great way to think about it. So what would you think that your highest value is?
My highest value, honesty.
Okay. I like it.
My highest value. Good question.
Yeah, I know. So and this is really simple.
It's hard to put it into like words.
Know
Yeah,
thyself.
it's like, I know the feeling. It's like my highest value, being okay.
Yeah.
Literally just being content.
Okay, and when you look underneath that, so there's 39 questions, 39 possible answers over 13 questions. Where you spend your time. What 3 things do you most spend your time on will be one of the questions. Where do you spend your money? What 3 things take up most of your finance? What do you read? What do you like to talk about? What surrounds your space? And these are the clues to unlock what your actual true values are. And I have many people that come along and they say, well, my relationships are really high in my values. It's like, I'm not saying that they're not, but let's actually just see what your life demonstrates are your values. I had a girl and she's really successful and she's a beautiful girl. And she really wants a relationship, in tears wants a relationship. And when we do her values, relationship came up once out of 39 answers. I mean, she liked belly dancing better than relationships, and she doesn't even belly dance. She doesn't even do it. So you can raise the value. It's very easy to raise that, but what you understand then is going, okay, well, I have a really high value in family, and I have a really high value in mental and in vocational. So what I need is a complementary opposite. I need someone that's got a really high value in relationships to complement my high value in family, because mental is really important to me and my job is, so you can stay at home and look after the babies but I've got to find someone that's got a complementary opposite to me, not the same.
I guess now that I think about it, if I include the metrics of what I spend my money on and what I spend my time on, I guess my highest value would be just physically being well.
Yeah, so well-being.
Being a high-functioning physically and cognitively.
Yes, and that's
human.
and so learning about yourself and learning about how you work and what you like, what you don't like, that's self-wellness.
Yeah.
And it's a massive thing. And when you then got underneath that and think, what do I like talking about the most? What do I like reading the most? I mean, there's so many clues in the way that you behave and the way that you act. You can say whatever shit you want. Oh, yeah, I have a high value in that. No, you don't. It's not what your life demonstrates. So you can think that's what you do, and no wonder you're miserable because you're living outside of your values. So whenever you're doing something, do you know when you're inspired doing something and no one needs to remind you to do this thing, that you just feel good doing it. It's like no one needs to remind me that to get up and wash my hair.
No deadlines. Yeah, I'm just doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you're like, oh God, I've got to do that thing called washing. I don't really want to, but I've got to make myself do it. You know, and that's because outside of taking my time away from doing what I like to do.
Yeah.
And this is in relationships when your girlfriend's trying to make you do something that you think, oh, no. No. Imagine if you didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fascinating. I would love to take this DeMartini questionnaire. That would be
It's brilliant. It's great. So you can go on to Dr. DeMartini's website, so www.drdemartini.com, and it's got in big thing value determination.
Yeah.
It's actually, you know, people do their values and they answer the questions that they think that they should answer, not really. So when I do it with someone, I call bullshit and half their stuff.
Yeah.
Like bullshit. And like your phone, for example. So what are the 3 things that would fill my space? And that's the first question. What are the 3 things that fill your space? That if you were around, what would they be? And of course, I'd have to say my phone.
Yeah. That'd be very honest.
But
yeah.
what is your phone for? What do you use your phone for? What's your primary, most purpose of your phone?
Well, I know for a fact that I've tailored what my phone is for because I know that I'm going to use it a lot.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to get like untethered from it. So I've tailored it to mostly be for information that benefits me. It's like I've unfollowed everyone.
Research,
research.
learn.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would not go under phone. It would go under research.
Mm.
Okay, so your phone is there, but the underneath thing of your phone is research. And so if you had your phone, it might be for watching porn. Might be. I'm just taking a guess.
You wouldn't be wrong if I'm being honest.
It's only about 5 minutes out of the day most of them.
Yeah, that's it. Only 5.
But you know, you have your phone for a particular purpose.
Yeah.
And so when you really get underneath the purpose, people say, "Oh yeah, for so I can contact my kids." I'm like, "So how many minutes a day do you spend talking to your kids? How many?"
Probably like,
I do for my business, really. And so how many hours do you spend on your business? So when you actually really know, I've got 11,000 photos in my phone.
God damn.
And 1,100 videos. I think we could safely say I use this phone for building my social influence.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go so deep in the phone to really make sure it's benefiting you the most, because I even scroll through Instagram a lot. I even had to tailor that to I only follow like health and fitness people, just so at the best I can at least get some
value out of what you.
Someone will post something about a study or say what they did, something that's positive during their day, and yeah, pretty much that. And I unfollowed everybody on my Facebook because it's all garbage and memes and crap.
Yeah, isn't it?
Because it's so easy to slip into just like scrolling through
and thinking, what am I doing this for? This isn't, and you know, this is why I stopped watching TV. If I need to fill my mind for escapism, what is it that I'm trying to escape from?
Yeah.
What is it I don't like? And so when you do the values determination, you really got to make sure you ask yourself the under questions. What else is in my space? And I'm like, oh God, what else is in my space? Well, you have to say, I like things that look nice. So beauty would be in my space quite a bit. Again, that's about building my social presence, because if I got online and I looked like a dragon and didn't present myself in a certain manner, people would look and think, she can't even present herself. Because in non-verbal communication, we have to not forget the power of our body. And we can read a person through their hands and through their face and through their legs and eyes and hips. But what about our torso? The only way that people can read our body language through our torso is what we put on it. And so what you wear says so much about how you think about yourself in a social environment or in a societal environment. So it's yeah, just make sure you go right under the reason that you have this thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to quickly go to the bathroom.
Do it. We'll wait for you.
It's usually Will.
Yeah, it seems like you have to be really scathing on this questionnaire to get the honest kind of picture.
You want people to have the best results.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing something that serves your values, you're elevated. And when you're doing something that doesn't serve your values, you feel kind of crappy. But if you start to understand, how does doing these things that I don't want to do help me achieve my highest values of the things I do want to do?
Yeah.
And when you understand that, you have more self-love. You have more
Yeah.
self-worth. You know that I'm serving myself. And the same with your girlfriend. If you know that, compromise, I wish you'd probably wait to talk about the word compromise, because it's the stupidest thing that people do in relationships.
Yeah.
Most definitely. So how long have you been with your girlfriend?
3.5, almost 4 years now. Yeah. And only moved in last month together. So
you know each other well enough to know that the whole living together is not just a fantasy that everything's going to be peaches and cream.
yeah, it was a very considered, like, calculated decision mostly on my part, I think. And yeah, she was ready and I was ready and all that. But I was certainly very conscious of what we discussed earlier and that whole wanting to play parent too soon and all that kind of stuff. And I'm definitely not locked in for anything in that regard at all. Because I'm not sure how much I can elaborate on this topic, but I definitely have some radical ideas around relationships. And
Okay, well that's good. Radical's good, because radical's being true to who you are.
Yeah,
and,
certainly.
You know, you have monogamy and that works for a lot of people. And there's an equal amount of people it doesn't work for.
Yeah.
And so, people have all sorts of different desires that they want to achieve from a relationship, and their sexual desires. And if you repress something, it's going to be expressed somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea.
Yeah. I sort of need to be quite careful how I explain this.
Of course.
But too often around me, I see people in committed relationships, and they're not addressing those desires, and their relationship, which is otherwise perfectly fine, crashes and burns, or becomes a game of secrets and misdemeanor and things like that. And and for me, the consideration of polyamorous relationships is almost a logical solution. And but I think that for some reason, societally, we've been influenced to be like, whoa, no, like to that sort of concept. Very apprehensive to that. And it's kind of selling a lot of people short.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, having an unrealistic expectation or an unrealistic fantasy around, well, I'm going to get a partner that wants this, and I want my partner to only be faithful to me and only to look at me and only be attracted to me, and I like to have sex in this position and that position, and probably Tuesdays and Saturdays work good for me, and and holding somebody into a restriction of a false fantasy of it being this way is not wise. And look, you're a young person, your tastes change. Like you might one day wake up and say, I like seafood.
Yeah.
I know I've never liked seafood before, but you know what? I think I want to try it. I think I might like it. And it's the same with, sexual expression. Just because you went into a relationship with somebody and it was like this way, it doesn't mean to say that it can't grow into this way, because you don't want to eat potato and sausage every night. You sometimes want to expand that, even though you thought that would keep you satisfied.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you can't expand and grow and explore, and the human body was meant for pleasure and to be explored, but can you cut your feelings off and just have sex for the sake of having sex? This is some people can, some people can't.
I think it requires an immense amount of maturity. And if you can demonstrate that in a relationship, I think that it can revolutionize the dynamic of your relationship. It can take it to a level of trust and communication.
I'm here because I want to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no one else I want to be with in any other way. So, in a physical way, I might want to be with, several people, but that's only an act that's going to last 4 or 5 hours, right?
Yeah. And you sort of cut off from that immediately afterwards. And
that begs the question, would you, in that scenario, maybe you can answer for us that, Lockie, do you reckon if you were in that sort of relationship that you would tell your partner, okay, I had sex with somebody else, or better to keep that separate? Let's say you have the agreement that, if the opportunity comes up,
if in a polyamorous relationship, I'm not sure what I would do. I would probably just not mention it.
Because I kind of err on that side of need to know.
Because you don't even tell your friends most of the time, really, what you get up to.
Yeah. I certainly think if you've established an agreement, then depending on the nature of the agreement, there is a lot of sort of wiggle room. I get that's probably a bad word to use, but I think that
it's boundaries, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think that it probably also helps with actually managing a situation like that as well, is not just kind of coming home and just like yelling from the rooftop to your partner that you've slept with so-and-so or this and that. If you've already established an understanding and it works, I don't think you need to necessarily, I don't know. But I also think that one of the distinctions that I've noticed, which has created a reasonable amount of interest for me in this topic, is this idea of like, there is definitely a difference between intimacy and where you get that from, your source of intimacy and that feeling of home and comfort and that kind of warm hug feeling that we see in relationships, and then visceral,
oxytocin.
And then that visceral kind of sexual release, and it's like
testosterone and cortisol and the dopamine.
Yeah,
it's that rush. It's very hard to keep up with one person.
Yeah,
and that becomes a part of the addictive nature of sex. That you just want to experience that, and often it's wanting to experience a new side of yourself. So it's often not about the other person that you're doing this. It's you want to know another side of yourself. You want to know a different part of yourself. You want to connect to a deeper part of yourself, which you're not connecting to in your partner that way because the relationship is of a different nature.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're not making love with your partner or not having great, mad, passionate sex with your partner, but it's not often about your partner, it's about you and how you yearn to find this thing in you. And sometimes it's because people believe it's lost in them, like people that have been married for a long time and all of a sudden they have an affair and it's like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. But I think that actually can bond people together much closer because it's often not about their partner, it's about wanting to discover something in self.
Yeah. And I think in that scenario it's something that they've repressed and it's just kind of exploded out in a very unsolicited, uncontrolled manner, whereas I think that's probably not a great way to go about it, even though I think people can probably find themselves in those situations, like entering into those situations before they even realize what's going on. So it's very tricky, but
it's been going on for centuries and centuries and centuries.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. There's a great book, I think I haven't read it, so I can't really speak to it, but it's called Sex at Dawn by Chris Ryan. It's one I've been definitely meaning to read. It's just, and that sort of ties into that whole lifelong learning and expanding your understanding and things like that, is these new ideas. Because I don't think anything's set in stone at all. And
it's interesting how much backlash he gets.
Yeah, it is. Are you aware of Chris Ryan or the book itself?
No.
Yeah,
but I'll definitely make note of that because I'm always on the hunt for interesting information, and particularly when it comes to human behaviour and human nature. And we can't box people, and you can't categorise, but you can certainly attract the sort of people into your life by the vibration that you put out and by the energy that you put out.
Yeah.
And so, if you're very clear about who you are, you're more likely to attract that sort of person. It's only when you're not clear about who you are and who you're trying to be and fitting into social idealisms and societal idealisms of, we must sleep only with the one person, or it's acceptable
Yeah.
to not, you wouldn't tell a lot of people certain things because it's called judgments of other people.
Yeah.
You're challenging their values, so they would look down on you and think, oh my gosh, that's not acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah. This is probably going in a different direction now.
Okay, let's redirect to wherever you want to go.
Through my conversation so far, I mean, particularly from the audience's perspective, we've got a really great idea of where you're at and sort of like an understanding, I guess, of your experience and your knowledge to do with dating, relationships, human behavior. But I wanted to kind of dig into how you actually, because you've been an expert or you've been in this sort of sphere for 25 years. Is that I want to go back to before then to kind of figure out what set you on this pathway. What took your interest? Did you always find that you always had a very high level of emotional intelligence and intuition with people? Okay,
so our values come from our voids. So the biggest voids that we perceive that we had become our values. Yeah. So I grew up without a mum. Okay, so my mum left when I was 5, and I grew up with my dad and my 3 sisters, and we came to Australia. We didn't know anybody, so there was no aunties or any other females really in our life for a period of time. And so you have to learn to self-soothe. You have to learn to have that self-love. You have to, because you've got to get it from somewhere. So I was learning it from there. And then, so it's a massive void. And I'm thinking, I'm not getting love. And I can see my dad, and I can see that he's unhappy. And so I was fascinated. I would be like in the supermarket thinking, oh, I wonder if that could be someone nice for my dad. And I'd see my dad's reactions when he'd be talking to women, and his mannerisms change and his behaviours change. And that kind of fascinated me even as a little person, as looking at the way men and women interact. So it became quite, and so there were so many prongs from there of that void of I don't want anyone to have that feeling of not being loved, because it's such a powerful feeling when you're giving love and receiving love. And so that void became my highest value of wanting to help people to not have that, because it's very easy. Love is actually the most important thing, and the human connection that we have with someone. There's all sorts of studies. I came across a Harvard study recently. 75 years this study was. So Jeez. It was massive, and they took 450 men and followed them through their whole life, and who stayed alive the longest, basically, and lived the healthiest life, and was alive the longest. And it was all about the human connections. It's all about the relationships and the quality of the relationships that you have. And I think that there's so much to be said on that topic, and there's heaps on TED Talks on it. There's some really, really good stuff about the longevity, your general health, your general well-being.
Yeah.
In that human connection. So I was always really fascinated with just love and the idea of love, and just...
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about love and, I guess, connection, because that idea seems to be the antithesis to some of the most reprehensible human qualities out there, that greed and power and some of just the most disgusting things. It always seems to be there's this sort of collective awareness or effort to try and move away from these horrible human ideals and back towards this sense of love and connection to other people.
Yeah, and look, really, we've discussed there's no trait that doesn't have an opposite. So someone can be really greedy in this area but really generous in this area. So you could have someone that's really greedy with money but really generous with their penis. Like, share that stuff around. I'm generous in this area. So you can't have the trait without having the anti-trait. You're just going to display it in a really different way. Yeah. And you're going to attract people that's going to bring you the part that you think you don't have. And that's so if somebody, you get really powerful men. And we'll use the man as a topic, because for many years people have made comments around, oh, well, I don't want to meet a gold digger. If you date a man that's got money, the perception is that the girl's a gold digger.
Yeah.
But there's a beautiful fair exchange in that relationship. So he's bringing the money and the power and the ability to have this sort of lifestyle, and she's bringing the beauty and the social and he's got somewhere soft to lay his head, where his day is like,
Yeah.
and now he's got that beautiful opposite, because we crave to have both sides.
Yeah.
Our brain is always trying to get us back in balance. We can't have a magnet that only has a positive end, has a positive and a negative, and they both serve us equally.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
Social homeostasis, yeah.
Well, it's all just quantum physics. Well, just energy, like, for God's sake. You know, it's really very, very simple. But being connected with somebody, and this is the whole online world and the whole social media and digital age. When I first started doing this, there wasn't any of that. Okay, and people just met. I could introduce them. You could meet at the pub. You could meet at work. There's so many taboos. Or you mustn't date someone at work. You mustn't, don't go to the pub and try to pick up someone. It's like, why not?
Yeah.
It's perfect. Oh, well, they're just after a one-night stand. It's like, what, and Tinder's not? Hello. But if you're not meeting people and you're not interacting with them, and you're trying to get this connection with text messages, this is like nuts. 80% of the way we communicate is non-verbal communication.
It's fast food.
80% of the way we interact and communicate is non-verbal. So you're relying on this 20% to connect with somebody online.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You have to meet. You have to be in the same room. You have to be... And I know I've got a survey that I'm going to release shortly, and the results are very, very interesting about how many times you might connect with someone and speak to them compared to how many times you actually meet that person.
Yeah.
So you can spend 2 weeks, hours and hours and hours, that result in 0. You know what's that? What's that costing you? Not in, even if we went back to dollar value, yeah, your time is worth money, but what's that costing you emotionally?
Yeah.
What is the cost of that?
That's a roller coaster. You're selling yourself short so much. I think that we have this kind of romanticized idea that, we're going to find love by walking down the street and carrying some books, and someone's going to bump into us and we're going to drop them, and suddenly, they're going to help us, and it's going to be this crazy idea. And I think that that's perpetuated, or that manifests in people's behavior on social media and Tinder. And like you were saying, what's wrong with going to the pub and meeting someone? It's I think that's also kind of meeting people and getting to know people and interacting with people in real life is work. And it's I don't know, maybe people just have this kind of lazy attitude that things should just happen, or that, this kind of entitlement.
Yeah, it also comes, I don't know, there's so much underneath that. This fear of rejection.
I was about to say that. Fear of face-to-face rejection.
Fear of face-to-face rejection. Somebody calls you on the phone and says, hey, I just want to call you, let you know I'm never calling you again. You don't know this person. You're like, okay, weirdo, whatever, no problems. But if someone that you really care about rang you and said, just want to let you know that, just not going to call you again, you'd be like, why, what happened? And so when it's not face-to-face, what is the difference? If it's a total stranger that you don't know that came up to you and said, just want to let you know I'm never going to talk to you ever again. Like, okay.
Most likely, probably would happen anyway, yeah.
But if the question is, hey, you look really cool, I'd really love to have a drink with you. So, can I have your number or whatever it is? And that person says no. Why does that feel like a rejection to us?
Yeah.
If you're in an emotionally healthy state, that's not a rejection. That's just a no.
Yeah.
It's just a no.
And there's a lot to be taken away from that as well. That can do massive things for you in terms of your ability to develop socially. You might be able to look back at that and refine how you speak to people.
Yeah, and people think it is a rejection if someone says no. If you said you drove into, I don't know, Hungry Jack's, and you said, oh, well, I want to upgrade, but can I actually have 2 burgers for the same price? And they say no. Are you going to be offended and rejected because you just got no? No, you're not. You're not. But whenever there's kind of an emotion attached to it, which is called a false fantasy, which is called an unrealistic expectation. We have an association of rejection. People just need to reset and go, that's not a rejection, it's just a no.
Yeah.
But if you don't ask the question, guess how many times you can get a yes?
Yeah, exactly.
0. So you just increased your chances just by asking the question.
Yeah.
And women blame it on men that they don't go and, men just don't come and approach you anymore. And it's like, well, that's okay. When's the last time you said hello to a guy? When's the last time you went and approached a guy? Oh, a woman shouldn't have to do that. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
I know, right?
You want equality. And the beautiful classic when you're, and I listen to people and I watch them and I think, oh, it's so interesting. So you get a couple of girls, they'll be out, and a guy will be brave enough to come and approach them, and the girl will turn around and say, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm just sort of here with my girlfriend and we just came to, to spend some time together, and so we weren't really sort of here to meet somebody, but thanks for the offer. You go, oh, whatever. If you just want to spend time with your girlfriend, you'd be sitting at home ordering pizza. You wouldn't be sitting in a social environment where you can be approached. In other words, you don't meet my search image criteria, therefore I don't want to invite you to sit down, because if you were the Bondi vet, you would be pulling up a seat right on next to me. All right, here. Come and tell me your life story. What are you all about then? Do you have a cute mate? Yeah, so... And I think it takes a lot of guts to go and approach someone.
There are some ways, like guys that are really drunk, there are some ways where they do it 100% wrong. It's like
100% of 100% of the time.
It's like, wow, that was a gross way to
and
just
How you going? Yeah.
And look, there's certainly when we add alcohol to the equation and courage, alcohol, this is not it's not actually that hard to get someone's number.
Yeah.
It's very easy actually. You can say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. What sort of car do you have? And they say, oh, I've got a little red Honda. I thought that might have been your car. I've actually scratched it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to need your number for my insurance. Your number? They give you a number. I was just joking, but I've got your number now. I lied. I own it.
Yeah.
I'm a liar.
I did hit your car though, actually. Yeah.
I'm a bad driver. That's yeah.
But, there's plenty of ways to creatively get someone's phone number. There's plenty of ways to not see it as a rejection just by asking the question in a different way.
Yeah.
If it was a no to, can I have the day off tomorrow? You ask your boss that and he said no. You're going to feel rejected? Not really. You're going to be like, damn, that was worth asking. Yeah.
I think this applies in every facet of life, as well as having the courage to put yourself out. Because I think, honestly, like when you do that, that's really where life starts to get interesting. Whereas if you spend the rest of your life
thinking you know the answer,
or just sitting in the corner looking at all the girls and thinking and wishing that you could go and talk to them, like that's not really living. That's not an existence that anyone would want for themselves.
It's caught up in fear. Fear of not getting what I want, or fear of losing what I have. Fear of losing my self-worth, fear of losing my self-esteem, or fear of not getting the yes that I want. It's all just fear.
Yeah.
And if you can lose that and think, I don't give a shit really if it's a yes or a no, but think of something that's going to make that person want to say yes.
Yeah. And I wonder if, we've talked a lot about how you need to sort of not fix yourself, but develop yourself before you can invite someone into your life. I wonder how someone who's probably further down the line of having developed themselves and they feel good about themselves and they're confident and they've done this, and maybe they were insecure about their body, so they went to the gym, or there's a million things you could do. Maybe that person feels more self-assured to go and put themselves out.
Of course. Of course, because they're not carrying those same fears.
Yeah.
But whenever we're focused on what we don't want, we're just inviting more of that don't wants, and there has to be a reflection on, well, I need to focus on what I do want.
Yeah.
And I need to see in people that they had these traits that I really liked. instead of they had these traits I really didn't like. So, well, what do they have that you did like? You know, and that's, if people could just change their mindset around dating just in that, it would massively change the outcome. To validate people.
Yeah.
Love. That's what love is. Love isn't something you get. Love isn't a gettable thing. Love is a giveable thing. And it becomes your choice. People say, oh, I'm heartbroken. I'm like, really? Why? Oh, because this person broke my heart. How could your heart be broken? Because they didn't want to give me their love anymore. But
There's other sources.
It's their love to give. You still have your love to give. You can give that love to whoever you want. How about giving it to yourself, number one?
It's like, what is that saying? It's like drinking from, what is the saying? Drinking from the well when there's a... What is it?
Yeah, it is. It's like,
Drinking from the well
that's like,
when there's a
that's like
lake.
drinking poison and expecting somebody else to die.
Right.
Same sort of thing. It's like, you know, if you're going to drink the poison and expect somebody else to die, like, don't punish yourself for the actions of someone else. If that person doesn't want to give you their love, that shouldn't break your heart, because you still have all your love to give. You can give it to your mum, your dad, your dog, your guinea pig, the person next door. Love's not a losable thing.
Yeah.
It's you can shut yourself off from the idea of it. Good luck with that. That's called depression.
Yeah.
Being dependent, and it's juvenilely dependent. Yeah, being dependent on getting love from somebody else. It's juvenile.
I just thought of the phrase. I think it's when you drink from the well when water flows everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Say it again.
Drinking from the well when the water flows everywhere.
So you don't need to find the well. It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
My first relationship, that was a learning curve, and that kind of opened my eyes, 17, 18, to a lot of these ideas that we've talked about today. And I'm very thankful for that, because it would have been a crappy, preceding 5 years or whatever after, whatever. But yeah, that was turbulent. I wonder, there's something about that. I think that everyone's first relationship is really transformative, and it's kind of an awakening in a way, which is why, and this isn't a criticism, but when I see people that are like sort of high school sweethearts and stuff, and that's fine by all means, but I just think, there's maybe some lessons in there that, because you have sort of settled and figured it out or gotten into this little nook, there's still a lot.
There's been no exploration of self.
You've left a lot at the table.
No reason to explore yourself further.
Yeah.
And your self-exploration is really important.
Yeah. So and if you don't want to answer any of this, that's fine. But what was your first relationship like, and what was your headspace during, and what did you learn from it afterwards and things like that?
Well, I learnt that it was probably better to not let your father see the hickey on your neck.
Okay.
This is a really big learning for me, because that did not go well. I think the learning of people have an expectation of you to do the things that they want you to do, to compromise how they want things done. And when you push against that, things get turbulent, because neither of you know how to manage that situation. Yeah. So, and actually being able to stand up and say, no, that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel right to me. I think I'm going to say no to that. Yeah. And having the bravery to be able to walk away and to go, this was great. And I think even from, there was only one relationship I had where I probably behaved quite poorly. But he wasn't a very pleasant person to be around in you don't push girls around kind of way. And so I might have cut his sleeves off the shirts in his wardrobe, so that when he pulled the shirts out of the wardrobe, you couldn't really see that had done until you go to put a shirt on and you realise you've only got one sleeve now, not two.
That's great.
But, a revenge is kind of crazy thing, because you don't get to see the benefit of that revenge, but it's still a much healthier emotion than depression. then, you know, it's one up from there, and one up from, you know, anxiety and anger, and, you know, revenge starts to be helpful because you're healing yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so, but every relationship that I've ever been in has never ended with a negative, or, yeah, if you have love and gratitude for everything that you experience with that person, and it's okay to admit that this relationship has done its course, and I loved doing it with you, and it was great, and it was fantastic, but it's time for me to move, because if you keep growing and the other person's not growing, and you don't want to have meat and potato anymore, you want to have seafood over here, you know what I mean? You want to explore the different sides of yourself. And so the end of a relationship, I don't know why people make such a big deal out of the end of a relationship. It's okay. It's okay to say thank you. I love this. It's time to go.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing I took out of my first relationship, which I've carried into obviously my subsequent ones, and that's actually been a really healthy perspective, is like, and I guess a good analogy would be like, I'm sort of in a car, and that's representative of my life, and I'm strapped in. But, you know, people sort of get in and out of the passenger seat, but that when they leave, I can't like linger on what was, because I'm strapped into the car, and I have to live with everything that, you know, at the end of the day, it's my life, and I'm within this body and this experience. So I have to kind of ultimately put myself first, and any sort of relationship that I have is an addition to my life, and that can be fantastic, and we can take that to some really deep levels. But I think that you can't ever lose sight of the fact that it's you're with yourself, and you have to live with everything, because some people just, I notice, get into relationships and they're gone, like they're off the radar, they neglect their friends, and they become so consumed, and then when it ends, they are distraught because they've placed everything that they know about themselves and their identity into that person.
There's a big difference of building your relationship around your life, or building your life around the relationship.
Yeah.
So, but the relationship can't be at the centre. Okay, you have to be at the centre of your life, and then build all the things around yourself. My job, my relationship with my parents, my relationship with my kids, my relationship with my partner, my personal pursuits, they all come from out there. So when people put relationships as their foundation and start building their, oh, I can't do that because that will clash with his, or that will clash with her thing, or she doesn't like it when I do that, you're now not in control. Of your life. And when you pass over the reins to somebody else, and then you're going to blame them for your happiness and being dependent on them for your happiness, and so when they take that away, you're a dribbling mess. Yeah,
it's disastrous. It's very ugly to see happen, and it's terrifying when you start to see some of the signs when someone gets into a relationship and they disappear, and you're like, oh boy, you know, I think the first maybe 3 months might dictate whether they build the relationship around their life or their life around the relationship, because I think you need to be quite assertive and sort of, and it's not at all to be pessimistic about the potential success of a relationship. It's just, that's just a caveat to every relationship.
But it's also, it's not your job to make anybody else okay. It's not your job to make you okay. I was interviewing a guy before Christmas, or maybe August last year, whenever it was. And he'd been married for a really long time, and 25 years or something. And it's turning 50, and he said, you know, I know it'll be a long time before I can get over this and be able to move on properly. And I said, why? Why? I said, well, why can't you be happy right now? And he was like, I suppose I could. People think that they have to grieve a relationship, or they have to grieve something. And he's actually in a relationship now, and he was saying to me the other day, you know, that was just that one sentence that just changed my mindset, because everybody else is telling him, oh, you know, it's going to take you time to get over this. You know, you just got to build your pieces up one by one, and in time you'll feel better. Like, fuck that. Like, feel better now.
Yeah.
Feel better now, because you've been brave enough to take a step that this isn't feeling good. Why do you want to keep eating seafood? You don't like it. Go and have something that you like.
Yeah.
And so now he's experiencing a whole different side of life, and for so long he's just been living in this existence.
Yeah.
I get up, I go to work, I eat my breakfast, I come home, I get ignored, I go...
Yeah.
Just a loop of,
Yeah, and now he's alive.
Yeah.
Permission.
present, yeah.
Permission to be happy. And make no mistake about it, love is a choice. Do I choose to give it to you? Yes or no? Do I choose not to give it to you? Yes or no?
Mm.
So when somebody's made the choice that they don't want to give it to you anymore, okay,
Yeah.
it's their choice. And it's your choice as well. People say, oh, it's so hard to connect with people. It's like, no, it's not. It's really easy to connect with people. It's really easy to find a partner.
Mm.
But you have to make a choice of whether I'm going to spend time getting to know this person, or I'm going to stand in a place of judgment over them because they're 2 inches shorter than I want them to be. Or she doesn't have double D cup.
Yeah.
Or she, you know what I mean? Like, we're just making judgments. And the judgment is a choice also. But love is a choice.
Yeah. It's
don't have
incredible
much
what
more
we've
to add.
covered.
Yeah.
I think this is so applicable to, this is just the bread and butter of life. And I was thoroughly excited to have a chat to you because it's just so applicable every single day, And I guess from a professional standpoint, what is it like to deal with this sort of stuff day in, day out in a professional sense?
Do you know, there was a few years ago where I was really just going, wow, people project so much stuff onto me and expect me to solve their problem because they've paid money. So, well, hang on a minute, I've just paid you, now you've got to find my partner. Okay, I can create some opportunities for you. And that's what you're paying me to do, create these opportunities. I can't make you fall in love. I can't give you the decision of whether you're going to, well, that person was nothing like I said I wanted. It's like, well, why did you say yes to meeting them then? It was everything like you said you wanted, otherwise you would have said no. And it became quite a struggle to think, I feel so responsible for the outcome. I feel so, people can get quite nasty. It's like, do you not understand I'm on your side? That it's actually better for me that you do meet somebody. And what I realised, and that's why I started studying human behaviour, of realising that it doesn't matter how many opportunities I create for you, you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself. And until you sort self out, nothing's going to work for you. And so when I'm with somebody, and I changed the model of my business quite a lot so that I only deal with people that have a really high value on relationships. Not that they think that they have a high value in relationship, because having a relationship is going to bring me more pleasure than it's pain. It's like, no, it's not. It's going to bring you both. But some people want the relationship to make their life better. And this is the wrong reason for wanting a relationship. So they might go, oh, well, if I get a guy and he's, got a house, and then we can have a better life. And I really want to be a dad, so I really want to, get a girl and, have family, because I didn't really have that and I really want that. And going outside of yourself. So as soon as I recognise that someone has got stuff that they need to dissolve, I've now got the skills to be able to dissolve their stuff and help them actually move past the crap that they're holding on to. And baggage that we're bringing from one relationship to the next. And this does not come in the form of your children. They're not your baggage. Your baggage is any undealt with emotional stuff. So if somebody's been unfaithful and the person will say to me, oh, but that happened 3 years ago and I'm okay with that now, and I've sort of, I've come to terms with that, and I've forgiven my partner. Yeah. Oh, God, you're just going to attract this exact same thing because you believe that your partner's done something wrong. And I will ask the question, so is there anything that you would change about that? If you could go back and change something, would you change it? Oh, yeah, shit, yeah. Oh, yeah, I would definitely. Baggage. Because they want a different outcome than what they got. They're living in the past. They haven't dealt with their stuff. So now, so I did struggle with that, and I thought, and I put my business on the market. I went, oh, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. It's just not the reason I wanted to do it was to help and to serve. And then when you're feeling like, wow, I'm just getting blamed, not helping and serving. And then I looked for the different answer. A different answer was being able to identify when somebody's emotionally on the right track and when they're not, to either say, well, this is what I can offer to do for you. I can do this, but I can't do this.
Yeah.
And not feeling like I have to do something that I know is unlikely to yield any positive result.
Yeah.
Why would I do that? Doesn't feel good.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not eating snails. Don't like them.
You can't just like give them a prescription or something to solve their problem.
Yeah, it can't be done.
Yeah.
People don't want to own their stuff. They don't want to see the reflection of themselves. They just want to project the blame somewhere else. But if they could actually see how that scenario or that situation served them, you're now in balance. And as soon as you're in balance, you're ready to... That emotion now doesn't affect you, and you won't keep attracting that back into... Because we all know people that have those same destructive relationships, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They're just like a moth to a flame. Moth to a flame. And the reason that is because we actually want to fix something that we perceive as wrong. And if you think that you've made a mistake, you want to keep going back to fix it. So, okay, well, I'm going to do things differently this time. I'm going to love this person even more than I loved the last person. I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And then they still get the same result. And until they can go, actually, this thing actually really served me.
Yeah. I mean, that's almost fits the definition of insanity, you know, doing the same thing, expecting different results.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they don't recognise that they're going into a relationship with a person like that. They don't recognise the behaviours until they're in too deep, and then they don't want their failure. So what can I do that's different? I'm going to do all of these things even more. And the outcome's still the same.
Oh boy.
There's a thing, whatever you say sorry for, you keep repeating. And whatever you forgive, you keep attracting. Because when you forgive someone, you've done something wrong. And I am now looking down on you. And because I'm looking down on you, that's going to become present again in your life because you've forgiven it. And so you're out of balance. So you need that experience to bring you back in balance. Whatever you're saying sorry for, oh my God, I'm sorry. You just keep repeating. I will not allow my kids to use the word sorry. So if they do something that they've gone, oh, I've broken something, or they are not allowed to come to me and say, I'm sorry. They have to find another creative way to say, I was a little bit careless and I've damaged something of your property, and I recognise it was something that was pretty important to you, and I just wanted to let you know that that's what's happened. Don't need to say sorry. Why would you say sorry for an accident?
Yeah.
Especially if you don't necessarily feel sorry.
Absolutely. It's like, I hated that fucking thing anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll clean that one more time. Yeah, so the word sorry, we must choose our words very, very carefully. It doesn't need to be there.
I like that actually, because it sort of warrants another level of understanding and engagement with your actions, whereas sorry can just be like this throwaway word that you can just go, sorry, and you don't actually need to understand what the scenario was or anything like that.
People expect you to subordinate to them. Well, I was right and you were wrong, so you need to apologise to me. So therefore I want to be dominating you, and you need to subordinate to me with the apology. You're not in balance. So we're going to create that situation. So again and again and again and again. So it's like the eternal lateness that I used to apologise for. Oh, fuck, sorry, I'm late. Guess what? I'm late all the time. I keep saying sorry for it. I keep creating that exact environment. I never say sorry anymore. I'm still late. I wasn't today.
Yeah, no.
Time isn't real.
It's a construct.
It's a condition.
Wow. This is, what are we coming up on now? This is a good haul. I've been thoroughly enjoying this chat.
Yeah. Well, I can come again.
Yeah, that would be great, because there's so much we could talk about. I mean, I think we hit some of the points that I mentioned, but we did go into a lot of other areas as well, which is fascinating. Just on your side of things, is there anything that you want to mention or promote, websites and things like that, or whatever you're doing at the moment?
Do you know what? If people want to find me, they can find me.
Yeah.
I don't need to. The fair exchange is what the fair exchange is. So, if you want to follow me on Facebook and get information, do it. If you don't, I don't care. You know, it's really the giving of what you give isn't to get something back. So I really appreciate you allowing me to share my views, and that is a fair exchange. So as I said, if people want to find me, they'll find me.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
It's been fascinating.
Thank you.
Shouts out seafood.